It was a warm summer evening when a group of teenagers gathered at Sarah's house for a much-anticipated sleepover. The air was filled with excitement and the promise of a night full of fun and laughter. They set up their sleeping bags in the spacious living room, which was adorned with fairy lights, cozy blankets, and an array of snacks. The girls had known each other for years, their bond strengthened by countless shared experiences. As the night grew darker, they decided to play a classic game of truth or dare. The atmosphere was electric, a mix of nerves and thrill hanging in the air. They formed a circle on the plush carpet, passing around an empty soda bottle to determine whose turn it was. Laughter and gasps echoed through the room as the bottle spun, each girl bracing herself for what was to come. When it was Emily's turn, the bottle stopped directly in front of her. She was a bright, adventurous 16-year-old with a sparkle in her eyes. The group quieted down, eagerly anticipating her choice. Truth or dare? Asked Emma, a 15-year-old with a mischievous grin. Emily paused for a moment, considering her options. She knew the dares could be outrageous, and she wasn't quite ready for the challenge they might pose. Truth, she decided, smiling confidently. Emma leaned forward, her eyes twinkling with curiosity. What's the most embarrassing thing you've ever done? Emily blushed slightly, thinking back to a particularly awkward moment at school. She shared the story much to the amusement of her friends, and the game continued with its usual mix of revelations and hilarity. Hours passed, and the game eventually came to an end. The girls settled into their sleeping bags, chatting softly as they began to drift off to sleep. But for some, the night was far from over. Amidst the quiet whispers and occasional giggles, Sarah, who was also 16 and the host of the sleepover, exchanged glances with a few of the other girls. They had come up with an audacious plan earlier in the evening, and now, with most of the group dozing off, seemed like the perfect time to execute it. Sarah nudged Chloe, a 14-year-old with a daring streak, who then tapped on Megan, another 15-year-old who was always up for some mischief. Together, they quietly gathered the necessary supplies, a pair of scissors and an electric razor that Sarah had sneaked from her brother's room. Emily, unaware of the conspiracy forming around her, was already fast asleep, her long chestnut hair spread out on the pillow like a halo. The trio moved with the stealth of seasoned pranksters, careful not to wake her or the others. Sarah whispered, "Are we really doing this?" Chloe nodded, her eyes wide with excitement. "She'll freak out, but it's all in good fun." Megan, holding the scissors, took a deep breath. "Okay, let's start with a small cut. If she wakes up, we can play it off as a joke." With shaky hands, Megan snipped a small section of Emily's hair. The sound was barely audible, but it was enough to make Emily stir. She mumbled something unintelligible and shifted in her sleep, causing the girls to freeze. After a tense moment, they realized she hadn't woken up. Emboldened, Sarah took the scissors and cut off a larger chunk. The three girls stifled their giggles, their hearts pounding with adrenaline. Finally, they brought out the electric razor. The soft hum of the device seemed deafening in the stillness of the night. As Sarah carefully shaved off a strip of Emily's hair, the reality of what they were doing began to sink in. It was no longer a simple prank. It was something far more drastic. But they were committed now, and there was no turning back. The next morning, as sunlight filtered through the windows, Emily woke up feeling strangely lightheaded. She reached up to run her fingers through her hair and froze when she felt the uneven patches in the buzzed sections. Her eyes widened in shock as she looked at the horrified faces of her friends, who were now fully awake and realizing the gravity of what they had done. What the hell happened? Emily exclaimed, her voice trembling. The room fell into an uneasy silence. The other girls looked at each other, guilt and fear flickering in their eyes, but no one spoke up. Emily scanned their faces, her anger rising. All of you are lying. Not one of you has the courage to tell me the truth. Her voice cracked, tears starting to roll down her cheeks. Who shaved my hair? Tell me right now. Sarah, Chloe, and Megan exchanged nervous glances, each one hoping the other would speak first. Finally, Sarah took a hesitant step forward. Emily, it was just supposed to be a prank. A prank? This is beyond a prank. This is cruel and humiliating. She wiped her tears away furiously, her face red with anger. If none of you tell me the truth, I swear I'll call the police. The threat hung heavily in the air. The girls shifted uncomfortably, realizing the seriousness of the situation. Megan, her voice quivering, finally spoke up. Emily, please, we really didn't mean for it to go this far. Emily's eyes narrowed, her anger intensifying. You didn't mean for it to go this far. How did you think it was going to end? Chloe, struggling to keep her composure, added, We thought it would just be funny. We didn't think about how it would make you feel. We're really sorry. Emily's voice was cold. Sorry doesn't fix this. You all need to leave me alone. As she turned to leave, Megan reached out, desperation in her voice. Emily, wait. Please don't go. Emily yanked her arm away. Don't touch me. I don't ever want to see any of you again. With that, she stormed out of the house, her heart pounding with a mix of fury and betrayal. She walked aimlessly for a while, her mind racing. She considered going to the police, but the thought of explaining what had happened felt overwhelming. Instead, she decided to go to her mother's barber shop. Her mother, a no-nonsense woman, would know what to do. When Emily arrived at the barber shop, the familiar hum of clippers and the scent of hair products greeted her. Her mother, Karen, looked up from the customer she was attending to, her expression shifting from surprise to concern when she saw Emily's tear-streaked face and uneven hair. Emily, what happened? Karen asked, her voice filled with worry. Emily took a deep breath, trying to steady her voice. Mom, the girls at the sleepover, they shaved my head while I was sleeping. I don't know what to do. Karen's eyes flashed with anger. They did what? Come here. Let me take a look. She guided Emily to an empty chair and examined her hair. Those girls have no idea what they've done. This is going to take a lot of work to fix. Emily felt tears welling up again. I can't believe they would do this to me, Mom. I thought they were my friends. Karen hugged her tightly. We'll deal with them later. Right now, let's focus on getting you fixed up. We can make a plan for how to handle this. But first things first. Emily nodded. Her emotions, a tumultuous mix of anger, hurt, and relief at her mother's presence. She sat down in the barber chair, looking at herself in the mirror, her uneven, patchy hair, stark evidence of the betrayal she had experienced. Karen ran her fingers gently through Emily's hair, assessing the damage. She sighed, her expression a mix of sympathy and determination. Emily, sweetheart, there's no easy way to say this, but your hair is too uneven. We're going to have to cut it short, and then we can start fresh as it grows back. Emily's eyes filled with tears again, but she nodded. I trust you, Mom. Just do what you have to do. Karen picked up the clippers, turning them on with a soft hum. This might feel a little strange at first, but it'll look much better once it's evened out. Emily took a deep breath and closed her eyes. The hum of the clippers growing louder as Karen brought them to her head. The first touch of the clippers against her scalp sent a shiver down her spine, but she steeled herself. Knowing this was necessary, Karen worked methodically, her hands steady and practiced. As the clippers moved through Emily's hair, she spoke softly to keep her daughter calm. "You're so brave, Emily. I know this is hard, but it's going to be okay. We'll get through this together." Emily opened her eyes, watching the hair fall to the floor. "I just can't believe they did this to me, Mom. I trusted them." Karen nodded. Her eyes focused on her work. "I know, honey. People make terrible mistakes, and sometimes they don't think about the consequences. But you're strong, and you'll come out of this even stronger." As Karen continued, she tried to lighten the mood a little. "You know, I've always thought you had a great face for short hair. This might just turn into a whole new look for you." Emily managed a small smile. "Maybe. I just didn't want it to happen like this." The clippers buzzed steadily as Karen worked, the sound mingling with the soft music playing in the background. After what felt like an eternity, Karen turned off the clippers and stepped back to examine her work. "Emily, I hate to say this, but your hair is still uneven. I think the best way to handle this is to shave it all off and let it grow back evenly," Karen said gently. Emily's heart sank, but she nodded. "Okay, Mom. Let's just do it." Karen switched the clippers to a closer setting and began shaving Emily's head completely. The sensation was strange and a bit unnerving, but Emily stayed still, trusting her mother. "You're doing great, Emily," Karen said reassuringly. "It'll be over soon, and then you can start fresh." As the last of her hair fell away, Emily felt a strange mix of relief and sadness. When Karen finally turned off the clippers and wiped away the loose hair, she handed Emily a mirror. "Take a look, sweetheart," Karen said softly. Emily looked at her reflection, seeing her bald head for the first time. It was shocking, but there was also a sense of liberation. "I look different," she said, her voice wavering. Karen hugged her tightly. "You look beautiful, Emily. Different but beautiful. And your hair will grow back better than before."